All right, here it is. This is our faux bamboo Breakfront Credenza. This is lacquered and is glossy, and you can make this in maple. You can make it in any kind of wood you want. We do high gloss lacquered furniture at the Resplendent Grow. So anyway, this one is what you get. So see all the beautiful trim. We got these beautiful faux bamboo legs. We have all of our drawers, which are of course miter locked cherry drawers. They're clear coated. They look really nice, and they're on soft close bloom slides. Customers love these. They really love the soft close function, and the undermount is much more desired than the side mount slides. And here we've got our adjustable shelves, and you can see that they're on soft close bloom hinges. Customers today want those hinges. They don't want traditional mortise or butt hinges, and as much as I've tried, I can't get them to to use them. So Euro hinges it is. Here is the model for the Credenza. I do this in a program called SolidWorks, which is a very high-end CAD program for aerospace and nautical industries. I don't use any of the functions on it. This is just what I learned on, so it's what I use. But it makes it very nice models and drawings. So now we're going to start with cutting out parts. We're going to rough cut all of our panel stock out of this MDO material. I use MDO for most of my cabinets. You can use any maple, walnut, cherry, whatever you like, but I'm going to label all my parts because I'm going to get a lot of parts going on. I don't want to confuse one panel for another as they are similar sized. Then we'll go over our table saw. We've rough cut everything on the panel saw, so now we're going to start cutting up closer dimensions on our table saw, get everything kind of close, and we'll move on to things like datoing a little bit later on, but we've got a lot of parts to make before we can get on to datoing. Now I'm going to start mapping out these individual cuts because these panels have all kinds of goofy shapes on them to accept other pieces for this particular cabinet. So we use a lot of squares and create all these things. And you don't see that I have a pattern actually where I'm able to make this panel with my router. I just router it all, so I've made a couple of these. But I'm showing you how to map all these things out using a combination square. And it's good to have lots of different combination squares. I use them all the time. Here I am routering out all the bits that I just mapped out, and these are going to be the areas for other pieces. So then we'll take a little dovetail saw here, and we're just going to cut out all the rounded areas from the router bit to make it nice and square, so that when we butt our hardwood up there, it butts up nice and clean. And do the same thing over here, and all the way along this panel. We'll just make sure that everything is nice and square. Obviously a router bit is round, so it's going to make a round corner, like when you just square that out. So yeah, that's that. Now I'm going to start ripping out all these pieces for my frame and panels. This cabinet uses several frame and panels, and so we have all the poplar stock for that. You can see, start gluing up all these frames and the panel sections. Of course, the Baltic first quarter cantilever in there. We'll get that all clamped up. And yeah, that's one of, I think, I don't know, 5 frame and panels for this cabinet. Go ahead and we'll glue up the other one, and then we'll move on to the bigger main panel in the center of the cabinet, right? You're seeing right here. So we're going to get this thing put together, and this will take care of all of the frame and panel pieces that make up the guts of this cabinet. And the frame and panels are important because they are lightweight. They again, they help the cabinet not to waste so much money, and it's an element of quality. If you want your customer to spend good money on your product, you have to show them why they're spending that money. And frame and panel construction is something that cannot be CNC cut. It's a sign of quality. So that's one of the reasons we use it. We like traditional methods here. Here I'm squaring up all of these areas that I've cut. I took the panel from the earlier part of the video and laid it on top of this framing panel and used it as a template to router out all of the areas for our other parts. Now here I'm going to go ahead and sand everything up. I want to make sure that my piece doesn't have any wood glue. It's nice and flat, and I'm going to get ready to start cutting out all of my dados on this particular framing panel. So here I'm laying my panels together, and I'm looking to check out my dados. So I've already put the dados in the base panel, so I want to make sure that the dados line up with my framing panel, as there's going to be mid panels going in between these two panels, and they all need to be the same. I'll line up all my straight edge here, my router bit. I'm going to go ahead and pop all these dados in. I'm just using a templating bit. I'm not even using any kind of like an 11/16 cutting bit. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just stepping this router bit down, checking my depth. I'll move this thing over, and then I'll finish up, make sure my panel's going to fit in there, and I'll finish up this dado on the other side with my router here. Again, I'm always using double-sided tape. I just love double-sided tape and a straight edge. And that's just from years of working in aerospace. Just how we did it. So yeah, it's just slow and nothing special here. Now I'll go ahead and blow this thing off, and I'm going to check fit that my panel fits in there as it should, and set the thing in there, and yeah, seems going okay. Now we're going to start cutting out the notches in our panels, framing panels, to accept our end panels, which we're going to build here in a minute. I like to cut these out on my table saw. It keeps everything nice and square. I'll cut out both sides if I can. Sometimes I go over to my bandsaw, which I'm going to do here, and just do a finishing cut there. And the bandsaw seems to be good enough for what we're going to do here. So it works pretty good. It's quick and efficient. Now here we are. We're mapping out more of these little notches that we have to cut in these framing panels. These are going to go on the ends of our cabinet, and they have to be able to accept the end panels, which again we're getting ready to build here shortly. Now I've set up my dado blade here. I'm going to start ripping out all these parts and cut as many of the dados and rabbets as I can without having to chain blades and put dados back on. I try to do everything I can in one grouping. So here's our end panel assembly. We're going to get ready to put this leg on here. We got the end panel, we got the back leg on each side here. We got a left hand and a right hand panel. So what we're going to do, we're checking to make sure that these legs fit correctly, and that so we got a good fit. And we'll go ahead and clamp these things up and let them dry for a couple of hours. And you can see the dados in the end panels where they're going to get your frame and panels that we made earlier. That's what we have going on here. Now we've made all these parts, cut out all these panels, made these frame and panels. Now we need to dry fit everything. And because this cabinet is so large and has so many parts, we do need to take the time to make sure that everything fits correctly, because nothing ever goes together perfectly. There's always something that has to be opened up. Maybe you made a cut too big, you got to go and fill something in. But if you take a good 30-40 minutes to dry fit your cabinet, when you go to glue it up, it's going to go together so much easier. It's going to make your life less chaotic. There's nothing worse than having one of those holy shit moments where you have something that doesn't fit and you've got glue drying, you're 3 or 4 panels in to put this thing together. So yeah, so take the time and make sure that everything goes together the way that it's supposed to go the first time. Okay, let's take a look at our assembly here as it's dry fit together. You can see where our framing panels are all meeting our end panels and our mid panels. We got our big block here that seems to fit okay. Don't have any issues there with these blocks meeting all of our panels. Again, our end panels are good. Everything seems to go together okay. Joints are acceptable. The top panel there looks like a little bit of a gap there. You might have to fight that a little bit, but that looks okay. Then again, we got a little bit of a gap there. We're going to have to go and probably fill that. See how she glues up. But yeah, overall the assembly looks like it's doing pretty good. And yeah, pretty happy. We can go ahead and glue this thing up. Here we go, moment of truth. You've cut out all these panels, you've checked everything, we dry fit it, so we're gonna start gluing this cabinet up. You'll see that I've got squaring blocks here. It helps keep things nice and square. I'm also using screws on the bottom and on the interior carcass here because all this stuff's gonna be hidden by other panels. So running some screws in there just aids production, makes it go a little bit faster. So as you see me doing here. Now I've got my glue going on these end panels here that are going into the framing panels, and then the framing panel and end panel are assembled onto the interior mid panels, right? So this is all going together. It's all being held together with gravity and just wood glue. Because we pre-fit everything, everything fits nicely. And we'll put our top frame up, which is not a framing panel, it's just a frame. And we're gonna go ahead and again, you see me using screws on the top because the top is gonna be covered by our actual top of our credenza. So again, more squaring blocks, and then I'm gonna start putting these long 10-foot clamps on here. And I'm gonna clamp this bad boy up. I'll check it for square. I'll make sure my dimensions are good, which I would have done during my pre-assembly. So yeah, I'm gonna get up here and you'll see I have to basically beat the hell out of this thing to get it to fit on the right-hand side. So again, I got more clamps going on this thing just to try and get everything to close up. You know, some of these things just did not want to go together like they did when I had originally put this cabinet together. And I don't know if that's just humidity, but whatever. So it's all together, it's glued up. I'm gonna check it, get more clamps on here, make sure I got nice pressure. You never wanna over clamp, so we get just enough clamps and yeah, we're good. All right, so it's time to remove this leg. We're gonna attach it permanently. So I'll go ahead and take this off, remove the drawer, and then I'm going to drill some 1/8" holes using my drill block here. I'm going to drill these at a 45-degree angle. I'm using a 12-inch bit and drill those all the way through. And then I'm going to come back through with an 1/8", or excuse me, a 3/16 bit, and that's going to give that Craig screw plenty of room. We'll go ahead and block plane this edge here so that we don't have anything obstructing the leg fitting on there. We'll go ahead and add a clamp to this thing just to kind of hold it in place. And I'll grab those Craig screws. I'm going to go ahead and these are 2-inch Craig screws. I'm going to go ahead and run them in with my little impact driver. I got 3 screws in here, and when we permanently attach this, we'll go ahead and put wood glue on it so that it's nice and secure forever. And then here we'll go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side with drilling all of our holes and doing the block plane to clean up that corner. Then go ahead and add our Craig screws in there with our little impact gun. And again, these are 2-inch screws, and make sure there is wood glue on the leg before it's Craig screwed on there. So now we gotta look at this faux bamboo leg. We need to double stick it onto a block of wood that's maybe 2x2 and get it up off the ground so we can run it through our table saw. And we need to do this because we have a 90-degree wedge taken out of the back, but we need to take a full 180 degrees, or basically half of it, because it needs to go flat against the center of our credenza. So you can see me doing that here on the saw. And I'm going to stop that right at the bottom of basically my haunch cut there. Then we'll go ahead and take this thing off, and we're going to run over a bandsaw, and we're just going to run it through there to clean up the corner there, get that excess piece taken off that we just cut, and it looks nice there. You can see here, I've ran a couple lines along the back side, and I'm taking my square, I'm going to run those lines along the front of the part, right? And those are the lines I'm going to transfer onto the cabinet. And the lines right now that we're putting on this leg are going to be for 3/8 dowels. And the dowels are there just for structure. They're not there to hold that thing together, you know, over the years. It's literally just there to carry the load, help carry the load, excuse me. So we're gonna go ahead and use our drill block here. We're gonna drill these out, I think, 1/4 inch to start with. And the holes, you know, I saw where I put the marks for the holes, and obviously those are in the center. So now we're taking that block and we're running those holes nice and perpendicular. And we hit it with a 3/8 drill bit as well. And so we got our leg, we're gonna put it onto our cabinet. We're gonna mark center on the cabinet, center on the leg. And we can go ahead and strike all the lines from the leg onto the cabinet, or the other lines, excuse me. And then we'll go ahead and take our square. We're gonna go ahead and transfer all those lines. This is gonna give us all the locations of our dowels that are on our our leg. So we'll go ahead and use an awl here, and just to kind of mark the location so we get a good, nice location on our drill bit. So we'll go ahead and start drilling these holes in. And I think we start off with a 1/4 inch bit, and then we'll work that thing up to a 3/8 bit. And you do that just to keep the bit from walking. Obviously, the bigger the bit, the more it's going to walk on you. But we're doing it with our drill bushing block here so that, again, we get a nice perpendicular hole. So yeah, I'm showing this because it's important to do it correctly. Otherwise, you end up with crooked holes, and then your leg's not going to go on, and you're just going to be pissed off fighting it. And anyway, so we'll take this thing off, and we'll go ahead and glue up our leg, and we're going to knock this thing on there. Put our dowels in the cabinet first, and then just take that leg and tap it on there and start running all your clamps. So clamps stay up good till you close up all your gaps and everything looks the way you want it to look. And we'll go ahead and jump over to the other side, and we're basically going to repeat the same process, putting all those dowels in there, and we'll glue this thing up just like before on the cabinet. And then we're going to go ahead and knock our leg on there and add our clamps so that this thing is good to go. So this is the composite resin that I mixed up to make all of my faux bamboo. It's, again, a two-part chemical. We mix it up. It's equal parts, 1-to-1. We mix that stuff up real good. And then I'm going to lay it into my mold here. This mold is silicone, and I get maybe, I don't know, 50 to 75 pours out of this before I have to remake my mold. So this stuff takes a good 10 minutes to dry, and then you can pull it out and start using it quickly. All right, so here I'm sanding the back side of this faux bamboo. When you pour it, it doesn't lay perfect, right? So you run it over on the edge sander and you get a nice flat back by doing it this way, and then it'll glue on and it looks really nice when it's finished. But it is dusty, so you need to have a good vacuum. So our top has a break front on it, so it has a good 1.5 inch separation between your traditional top, which would just be straight all the way across. So we got to go in here and we got to cut out these little notches essentially. And I ran it earlier on my table saw, so you can see the long line there is where I ran on the saw. Now I got to come back in with my jam saw here and clean it up so I get that nice break front look. So I'll do the same thing on the other side and get a nice square corner in there so that I have a place to put my bamboo, because I'm going to glue and pin nail that bamboo in place. So it's important to have a nice clean corner again for your composite bamboo to go on too. So here we're going to put our faux bamboo on. We're using CA glue, a 23 gauge pin nailer, and then of course some activator. And you have to line that stuff up carefully. Here we're using a disc sander to create all these 45-degree joints. The composite sands nicely with an 80 grit pad. And over here, we're going to continue to fit these pieces in. Some of them get pretty small, but you want to line all these knuckles up on the center. And the knuckle is the character feature of the faux bamboo that defines what is known as faux bamboo. So all those are going to get lined up in the centers of each compartment of the cabinet. Here I'll do kind of the final touches, and I'll grab a sanding block and sand off the corners, make sure they're nice and smooth. So now I'm prepping the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and put all the holes in the top of this for our Craig screws. We're going to glue the top on, and then I screw it from underneath. And that's just how I generally like to do this. So it doesn't really matter how many screws you put on. It's kind of dealer's choice. But you need to have several fasteners in there so that you can glue and screw this thing in place so that it, again, will not come off. It'll stay there for a very long time, because you know people are just going to grab it from the top and wrench that cabinet around, so it's important to make sure the thing is attached very well. So take your time to do it correctly. Now we'll go ahead and apply all of our glue, and we're going to lay our top on here and line this thing up. Again, put a couple clamps on it to hold it in place. And then again, just start screwing, man. Screw, get that thing on there. A regular drill doesn't fit under there so well. I had a couple of 90 drills, none of them seem to fit, so I have this little snap-on right angle screwdriver that I use all the time. It's very handy. I'll link to that in the video. But yeah, just screw the heck out of this thing, because again, you want it to last a long time, and people are gonna, like I said, be dragging this thing all over the place for the next 30 years. So just make sure that it's done correctly, and you don't have to worry about people, calling you up later on and saying that the tops come off or the cabinets, falling apart. So just take your time and do it correctly. Now we're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna kind of soft sand the cabinet. We're gonna knock down the knuckles on the faux bamboo. They stick out proud of the plywood because they're probably more like 13/16 as opposed to 3/4 inch panels. So just sand that stuff, knock it down. All right, so we made it to the end. We have our carcass assembly all built. The legs are all attached. The trims are all attached. The top is glued and screwed. We got our drawer boxes in there, which aren't a part of the carcass assembly, but I built them anyway. You can see our framing panels in there. The drawers, of course, are nice miter locked drawers, which I've done a video on that. You can watch that. Again, more of the traditional frame and panel construction. This is what you want if you want to sell your furniture for top dollar. Next video is going to be doors and drawers and back and finishing touches.